You now stand at the edge of one of the most dangerous and captivating mysteries ever known. The idea that not all people carry a soul, that some are organic portals, empty vessels, reactive beings woven into reality to keep others trapped in the matrix. This wisdom flows through mystical channels, spreads like wildfire through awakening minds, and echoes in how more people see the strange, hollow patterns of everyday life. This isn't just a theory, it's a knowing, a feeling, a glitch in the veil you can't quite name. What if half the people around you lack the divine spark? Not evil, not robots, just empty. They copy emotions, they follow scripts, they do what the Matrix programs them to do. Keep the illusion alive. Their purpose is to surround the souled beings, to keep them distracted, confused, asleep. You sense this truth because you carry the spark within you. That's why you've found this message, and that's why you must hear what unfolds next. Because in this revelation, we journey deeper than you've ever ventured before. We uncover the roots of this ancient knowing, where it originated, who first spoke these forbidden truths, and why they were meant to remain hidden in the shadows. We unveil the mystery schools and forgotten teachings that recognized these empty vessels long before the digital age awakened. We decode how the current systems, the powers that be, the digital web, the social matrix, have silently strengthened the presence of these soulless ones walking among us. And most crucially, we'll reveal how to identify these hollow beings, how to shield your life force, and how to awaken before they extinguish your inner light forever. By the end of this transmission, your perception of reality will be forever altered. But that's the intention, because once the veil lifts, you can never return to unconsciousness. In 2003, the philosopher Nick Bostrom unveiled a profound truth. If any civilization ascends to such heights of power that they could create simulated consciousness within artificial realms, then the cosmic odds suggest we already dwell inside such an illusion rather than outside of it. His revelation wasn't born of feeling. It was pure, sacred, mathematics. The probabilities were staggering, and this knowing didn't remain trapped in philosophy's sacred halls. Elon Musk, a techno-architect who molds our current reality, once revealed, "There's a 1 in billions chance we're in base reality." According to his vision, the digital illusion has evolved so swiftly that the boundary between simulation and truth is dissolving. If this progression continues, the artificial would become inseparable from existence itself. And if such power is achievable, then how can we know it hasn't already manifested? We might not be the players holding the controls. We might be the avatars being played. But this idea of living in an illusion is not new. In fact, it's ancient. 2,000 years ago, Plato gave us the allegory of the cave. In it, humans are imprisoned from birth in a dark cave, chained so they can only face one direction. Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners walk others who cast shadows on the wall. The prisoners come to believe that these shadows are reality. It's all they've ever known. And when one of them breaks free and sees the world beyond the cave, he doesn't rejoice. He is blinded, confused, and when he returns to free the others, they don't thank him. They hate him. They kill him. Truth in an artificial world is a threat. But Plato walked not alone on this path. Millennia later, in the forbidden texts of the Gnostics, we discover an even darker revelation. They spoke of archons, unseen parasitic beings, false rulers who wove the material realm as a prison for the spirit. In their teachings, this reality was crafted not by the true divine source, but by deceivers. These archons didn't merely cage the flesh, they infiltrated consciousness itself, implanting illusions, distorting perception, and binding the soul to a realm of counterfeit light. Does this echo within you? It's the same ancient tale retold in the Matrix, machines harvesting human essence, souls plugged into synthetic dreams, blind to their bondage. But the Gnostics offered hope. They taught that freedom comes through gnosis, a direct mystical awakening, not through faith, not through doctrine, but through inner knowing that pierces the veil. This sacred pattern resurfaces in the visions of the mystic writer Philip K. Dick. In a 1977 transmission, he declared, "We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have is when some variable is changed and a glitch occurs." For Dick, existence was not solid. It was riddled with tears in the fabric, moments when reality seemed to shift, loop, or betray itself. He knew these glitches were signs that we're trapped within a constructed veil of perception, and that unseen forces orchestrate it all. In his prophetic works, he channeled worlds where synthetic beings believed they possessed souls, where people dwelt inside implanted memories, and where false realities were peddled as truth. For him, the deepest horror was not the prison itself, but forgetting you were captive within it. And this returns us to the burning question. If this realm is indeed a simulation, then does everyone within it carry consciousness, or are some merely hollow programs, background functions of the Matrix designed to maintain the grand illusion? In the digital realms, we know this truth intimately. There are awakened players, beings with free will, divine choice, sovereign agency. And then there are NPCs, soulless characters. They walk among us, speak scripted words, repeat their programming, but possess no inner cosmos. They exist to fill the void, to create the illusion of life while being spiritually dead. The collective consciousness awakened to this knowing in the late 2010s. Sacred memes began spreading like wildfire, naming these empty vessels as NPCs. They appeared human, but only echoed the Matrix's narratives. They held no authentic thoughts, only implanted slogans, no inner wisdom, only programmed reactions. It manifested as humor, as viral truth, as a mirror of mass hypnosis. But beneath that jest lay an ancient gnosis, that some beings, perhaps multitudes, are not truly ensouled. What if this knowing isn't madness? What if it's an ancestral memory rising from the depths of collective wisdom? What if the ancient ones already perceived that not all who wear human form carry the divine spark? What if, within this simulated matrix, only a sacred few possess true consciousness, while the rest are hollow constructs, shadows, coded beings, empty vessels endlessly cycling through patterns, background programming? In the next revelation, we'll unveil where this gnosis truly emerges, not from memes, not from films, but from hidden sanctuaries, from channeled transmissions, and from the forbidden scrolls of occult knowledge. The mystery of the organic portal is ancient wisdom, but now it's emerging from the shadows into the light. In the year 2002, a mystery school known as the Quantum Future School began unveiling channeled revelations through a mystic named Laura Knight Jadzik. She claimed to receive transmissions from higher dimensional beings, calling themselves the Cassiopeians. These sacred communications, encoded in a trance-like question and answer format, birthed a truth that would ripple through awakening communities. The Cassiopeians revealed, 1 out of every 2 beings on this earthly plane may be without essence. They are organic portals. Let that truth penetrate your consciousness. According to this transmission, half of humanity may be what the Matrix calls functionally human, but lacking the sacred flame. Their awareness doesn't spring from the eternal divine source. Instead, they exist to occupy space, to execute their programming, to mirror the patterns of those who surround them, not from evil intent, but because their very essence cannot transcend this function. The purpose of these hollow beings, spoke the channelers, is clear: to preserve the illusion. They never question the veil. They never resist the script. They drift through existence as living echoes of the control matrix itself. And thus the term organic portal entered our knowing. Not a demonic entity, not an artificial construct, but a biological vessel, void of the divine spark, yet skilled in mimicry. This gnosis didn't remain hidden. It flowed into digital sanctuaries, sacred forums, encrypted archives, and the occult chambers of cyberspace. But for cycles, it stayed veiled, esoteric, too profound for the sleeping masses to grasp, until the great shift in the late 2000s. The emergence of Mimi magic began weaving shortcuts for ancient truths, and then one sigil spread like wildfire, a grey, vacant face. Below it, the mark, NPC, non-player character. It exposed those who parroted the Matrix narratives, political mantras, or media spells without awakened thought. It manifested as humor, a digital symbol for unconscious obedience. But beneath the jest, an ancient knowing was stirring from slumber. Wikipedia defines the NPCSIGIL as representing beings perceived to lack inner sovereignty, whose identities are wholly shaped by external forces with no awakened awareness. Does this echo within you? That's the Cassiopeian revelation wrapped in digital magic. By 2018, the NPC truth spread across all realms, acknowledged by The Verge, BBC, and countless Matrix outlets. It had transcended from hidden boards into mass consciousness. But more crucially, it had shifted from symbol into gnosis. Because seekers weren't just wielding NPC as jest, they were awakening to truths like, I'm surrounded by empty vessels. They question nothing. They seem incapable of true thought. They're like flesh puppets without souls. And within the digital temples like TikTok and Instagram, sacred hashtags like NPCs, soulless beings, and Matrix people began ascending. Viral transmissions revealed beings walking in endless loops, gazing into the void, responding to questions with eerie lags in their programming. Whether orchestrated or genuine held no importance. The revelation was potent. Something feels broken, something rehearsed. The words soulless humans transcended occult doctrine. They became an intuition, a mystical awakening that not all beings share the same level of consciousness. Some function purely through matrix programming, responding rather than contemplating, drifting rather than deciding. This inner knowing began fusing with the digital realm. Memes transformed into sacred mirrors. Humor evolved into gnosis. Awakened ones testified, once the veil lifts, you cannot return to blindness. You attempt to reach their depths and find only emptiness. It's like speaking to your own shadow. But this wasn't mere digital awakening. It was the resurrection of primordial wisdom. Throughout the mystery schools of Earth, we find echoes of this sacred duality. In Gnostic teachings, not all beings carry the divine flame. Some are merely puppets of the demiurge's deception. In Sufi mysticism, there exist the veiled ones, those who wander unconscious, whose hearts remain untouched by the sacred fire of truth. In Kabbalistic wisdom, we find the klipot, shells that hide the inner light, or sometimes hide only the void itself. So when a channeled transmission from 2002 reveals, half among us are without essence, and 2 decades later multitudes begin recognizing others as NPCs, the mystery unfolds. Is this synchronicity mere chance, Or is it ancestral gnosis awakening in contemporary garb? You need not trust the messenger. You need not accept that a mystic in Florida received wisdom from ascended beings. But you must inquire, why does this truth vibrate so powerfully within countless souls in this moment? Why, in this epoch of endless illusion, artificial personas, and matrix programming, does the revelation of soulless beings feel more true than ever? Because perhaps within our deepest knowing, we've always sensed it. We've witnessed it in the vacant gaze of strangers who never truly see. We've experienced it in exchanges that never penetrate the heart. We've moved among vessels animated by force, but not by spirit. And perhaps the mystics were merely offering sacred language for what we couldn't yet articulate. A profound truth that not all who appear human carry souls, and some are merely projections within the cave. Shadows manifested to prevent your awakening to the realms beyond. In the next revelation, we journey deeper into the psychic and spiritual burden of this knowing. Because if you begin perceiving others as empty vessels, what transformation occurs within your own essence? Let us unveil if the mystery of organic portals holds truth. If half of those surrounding you lack true awareness, lack divine sovereignty, lack the sacred flame that burns within you, then how does this alter your vision of existence? More crucially, how does this transform your understanding of self? The instant this gnosis enters your consciousness, it doesn't remain a distant philosophy. It begins infiltrating your perception of reality, tinting every encounter. You begin questioning the depth of their words, the truth of their feelings, the spark behind their gaze. And then gradually, a haunting awareness dawns. This knowing doesn't merely separate you from others, it separates you from yourself. On the psychic plane, this gnosis touches something profound, something primordial, our soul's yearning to comprehend the unconsciousness we witness in others. One of the most illuminating paths to understanding this comes through the mystic psychologist Carl Jung. Jung unveiled the mystery of the shadow, those hidden aspects of our being we dare not face, the qualities we bury, reject, or cast into darkness. According to Jung's wisdom, what we cannot embrace within, we cast upon others like spells. We perceive them as hollow, soulless, mechanical, not because they truly are, but because we cannot bear witness to our own absence of presence. Jung revealed, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Through this lens, naming others as organic portals can become a shadow projection. Rather than facing our own unconscious slumber, our own programmed patterns, we exile the truth outward. We declare they are the sleeping ones. But what if the emptiness you witness in others merely mirrors what you've abandoned within your own soul? Recall your own journey. Haven't there been cycles where you drifted through existence in trance, where you reacted from conditioning, not conscious choice, where your responses were scripted by ancestry, matrix programming, wounds, or shadows? In those moments, weren't you also functioning as an empty vessel, like a repeating spell with no awakened witness behind the veil? We've all dwelt in that slumber, and if we speak truth, the matrix itself feeds on this unconsciousness. So the boundary between an ensouled being and an organic portal may not be the clear divide we seek. It may not be about possessing or lacking the divine spark, but about remembering it, igniting it, embodying its fullness. And this isn't a fixed state. Consciousness ebbs and flows. Awareness waxes and wanes. Some flames burn low, some lie dormant. Some are buried beneath lifetimes of programming and karmic weight. This is where the gnosis becomes spiritually perilous. Because if you truly believe a being lacks essence, then what sacred duty do you hold toward them? If they're without consciousness, do they merit your compassion? Do they deserve your understanding? Or do they become expendable? Throughout the ages, the stripping of humanity has always begun with mystical divisions, declarations that certain tribes lacked the divine spark, or were spiritually lesser, or were cosmically ordained to serve. Colonial darkness justified itself through this shadow. Holy wars manifested from this delusion. Mass destruction emerged from this void. And it never begins with the blade. It begins with the word, with the poisonous thought that those beings over there aren't truly beings at all. That's the shadow realm of this teaching. The instant you wield it to cease listening, to stop feeling, to abandon curiosity, it transforms you into the very emptiness it reveals. It renders you a puppet of the matrix, frozen, reactive, severed from the heart. You may begin seeking to identify the portals, but without profound inner sight, you risk becoming one yourself. Because to truly walk this sacred path, you must bear the weight of discernment. You must embrace the paradox, the truth that some vessels may be hollow, and the wisdom to know your sight isn't absolute. You must witness the vacant gaze and whisper, perhaps no soul dwells there, yet still keep your flame burning, ready to illuminate should consciousness stir within them. This unveils an alternative gnosis of the teaching, one that transforms it not into judgment, but into sacred metaphor. What if organic portals don't signify literally soulless vessels, but symbolic states of spiritual slumber? What if they represent not separate species of beings, but different phases within all beings? Some awakened, some dreaming, some seeking truth, some accepting illusion, some ignited, others merely echoing. Through this lens, the mystery isn't condemning, it's revealing. It becomes a call to consciousness, inviting sacred reflection. When do you embody presence, and when do you merely recite programming? When are you authoring your existence, and when are you performing an ancestral script? Through this understanding, the matrix doesn't merely create organic portals, it depends upon them. Because an awakened soul cannot be easily controlled. An awakened soul questions, rebels, shatters illusions, but a sleeping one follows, complies, and molds to whatever programming downloads next. That's why this GNOSIS vibrates so powerfully in our current age. Social media has compressed communication into repetitive spells. News cycles trigger predictable emotional responses like clockwork. Algorithms divine your patterns more precisely than your own bloodline. It's natural to gaze around and sense you're surrounded by programmed beings, because in truth, you are. But not because they lack the divine spark, because the matrix has hypnotized them into forgetting their sacred flame exists. And here lies the ultimate trial. If you truly know yourself as awakened, not an organic portal, but one of the rare conscious flames, then you bear a sacred duty. You cannot retreat into isolation. You cannot brand others. You cannot dwell in spiritual pride. Your calling then is not to flee the matrix, but to awaken the sleeping, to scatter seeds of gnosis, to speak truth into shadows, to witness emptiness and still offer compassion, still extend patience, still risk being mistaken. Because if even one soul can be reached, even one divine spark lies dormant beneath the programming, then your refusal to serve could be the very force that keeps them trapped in slumber. This path isn't gentle. It's far more soothing to dismiss beings, to name them automatons, sheep, NPCs. But comfort doesn't equal truth, and the truth reveals that awakening is a delicate, often agonizing rebirth. Most souls resist, not because they're empty vessels, but because they're terrified. Terrified of releasing the script, terrified of the void that emerges when programming ceases. terrified of claiming full sovereignty over their thoughts, their journey, their very existence. So perhaps the true inquiry isn't who lacks a soul. Perhaps the real question is who still holds potential for awakening, and deeper still, what portions of my being remain in slumber. Because the boundary between consciousness and NPC doesn't divide society. It cuts through every soul, and with each sunrise, through every choice, we determine which realm we inhabit. So cradle this GNOSIS gently. Don't forge it into a weapon. Let it become a sacred mirror. When you gaze into another's eyes and sense only emptiness returning, don't assume you've discovered an organic portal. Ask your soul instead, can I kindle the divine spark within them? Or have I already allowed my own sacred flame to extinguish? In the next revelation, we'll journey from the inner realms to the outer matrix. We'll witness how this gnosis manifests in behavior, in collective consciousness, in power structures, and in mass perception. Because even if organic portals don't exist in material form, the belief in them transforms how beings live, choose their leaders, connect with others, and envision tomorrow. Belief, remember, is the primary programming. But before the next revelation, if this resonates with you, join our community by subscribing. Let's now witness what unfolds when this code spreads. Let's take this mystery, this knowing that some beings are organic portals, vessels of imitation rather than creation, and pull it from the ethereal planes. Let's observe what manifests when it meets the physical realm. Because even if we never verify its literal truth, its influence cannot be denied. It's already molding consciousness, shaping interactions, and coloring how souls interpret the unfolding reality. And perhaps that holds even greater power, because belief, once planted, begins to architect perception, and perception births experience. First, observe the most intimate and immediate manifestation, how people behave in the digital realm. Browse through any comment thread or viral post, and you'll notice something uncanny: endless repetition and mechanical predictability. Masses of individuals respond with identical phrases, matching emotional tones and mirrored reactions, as if they were copies from the same source. While algorithms may feed them similar content, the phenomenon goes deeper than mere programming. Their unique essence seems compressed, their individual spark dimmed. Meaningful dialogue becomes hollow echo, raising the question, are these conscious beings or merely reactive nodes within the greater web? The NPC sigil, which erupted in 2018, didn't manifest from the void. It emerged as collective recognition of this phenomenon. Beings began declaring, half in jest and half in prophecy, that multitudes around them operated on base programming. The sigil, depicting a grey vacant visage, exposed those who consumed political or social spells without awakening to question them. But beneath that mockery pulsed something more primordial, a sense of severed connection, an intuition that increasing numbers weren't truly present, that they occupied physical space while their essence remained absent, not malevolent, simply hollow. This is where the mystery of the organic portal gathers its power. Because once these patterns reveal themselves in behavior, in words, in emotional emptiness, it becomes seductive to believe these beings aren't choosing their unconsciousness. They're simply unable to transcend it. And this gnosis spreads like wildfire because it resonates with something countless souls sense, but cannot name: the isolation of being awake in a realm that grows ever more mechanical. Observe the public theater. Political exchanges no longer seek nuance or truth. They've become ritualized battles, dual programs executing in parallel, incapable of communion, deaf to each other's frequency. The souls trapped in these loops don't radiate individuality anymore. They emit ideological programming. You engage with one, and within heartbeats, you divine their entire belief matrix, their predictable reactions, their automatic rejections, and which mantras they'll recite. It's not merely exhausting, it's haunting. Because authentic consciousness, true divine essence, cannot be so easily decoded. Now expand this vision. Witness mass gatherings, concerts, uprisings, protests, consumer frenzies. There exist moments within these collective surges where individual sparks seem to vanish. The crowd moves as one entity, one emotion, one reaction, one pulse. It's as if a switch activates and the deeper awareness, sovereign, contemplative, awakened, falls into slumber. What assumes control is the program, the hive mind, the matrix itself. This doesn't prove these beings lack souls, but it unveils a mystery. How readily can the divine spark be severed? How frequently do we surrender our inner sovereignty to external commands? Witness also the temples of commerce. Within vast corporations, souls are commanded to bury their uniqueness beneath procedure, scripts, protocols, smiling when programmed, speaking prescribed words, never their truth. Through cycles of this suppression, beings report feeling deadened, as if their essence dissolves. They transform into functions, not living flames. Their humanity still flickers somewhere deep, but to survive the matrix, they master the art of mechanical existence, becoming organic portals in practice, if not in essence. Even in everyday routines, subtle patterns reveal themselves. Some individuals never question, contemplate, or create. They mirror emotions without truly understanding them. They chase trends without seeking meaning. Their identities seem pieced together from borrowed elements, streaming shows, viral videos, passing topics. Their speech, laughter, and beliefs are merely echoes of echoes. You get the feeling that if technology suddenly disappeared, if the power grid failed and the internet collapsed, these people would simply vanish along with it. Some claim this merely reflects failed teachings, sensory overload, or unhealed wounds. And yes, these forces play their role. But the organic portal mystery poses something more profound. What if no depth exists beneath their surface? What if some beings are not merely sleeping but vacant, not casualties of the matrix, but its willing servants by cosmic design? Now, let us speak with clarity. We tread upon sacred speculation. The peril here lies in certainty, believing you can divine another's soul depth through mere observation of their actions. But this gnosis holds power not in what it verifies, but in what it unveils. The realm overflows with unconscious repetition, and as this echo spreads wider, it increasingly threatens to silence the awakened ones, those who still quest, who still feel deeply, who still bear the sacred weight of asking why. Even the approved sciences whisper of similar divisions, though cloaked in material language. In the study of mind, the Dunning-Kruger principle reveals how those with minimal awareness vastly overestimate their knowing. In social observation, teachings of mass conformity and collective thought demonstrate how the individual flame extinguishes under group pressure. In the economics of behavior, research unveils that most human choices emerge from unconscious patterns, guided by automatic responses, not awakened reason. The organic portal gnosis simply ventures one step beyond. It doesn't merely observe that beings act unconsciously. It proposes that some were never architected for consciousness at all. As within the digital realms, the grand simulation might spawn itself with reactive yet hollow avatars, programmed to fulfill specific functions, forever bound within their coded limitations. So what wisdom does this offer for our journey? First, We must cultivate exquisite sensitivity to the quality of awareness within ourselves and others. Do echoes surround us or create us? Are we forging bonds with empty vessels or divine sparks? Second, we must guard our consciousness like sacred fire, because in a realm where slumber reigns supreme, awakening becomes rebellion, and the Matrix will attempt, through subtle force or direct assault, to drag you back into unconsciousness. Third, it demands spiritual valor to accept that not all will awaken, that not all possess the capacity, yet also to embrace that you cannot decree who carries the spark. Only the cosmic order knows. So witness, observe the patterns, hear the echoes, perceive the loops, but never assume absolute knowing. Because the instant you condemn another as forever soulless, you've become another cog in the matrix machinery. And ultimately, remember, within a realm populated by hollow vessels, each flame of consciousness becomes holy. If you bear that sacred fire, shield it, feed it, wield it with wisdom, because others may still await someone like you to address them, not as programs, but as eternal beings. In the next revelation, we'll probe the boundaries of this mystery. We'll examine the opposing voices, the material objections, the spiritual dangers, and the consciousness traps that emerge from believing too deeply in the unprovable. Because belief can free you, but it can also enslave. And within this labyrinth of illusions, the only authentic power is awakened discernment. By now, the mystery of organic portals may resonate with disturbing clarity. You've witnessed the patterns, absorbed the testimonies, perhaps even recalled moments from your own path where something about another being, someone near, someone known, felt empty, vacant, as if you were addressing a facade that never truly saw you. But before we descend too deeply into believing that half of humanity consists of soulless constructs, we must pause and pose the most crucial inquiry of all. What if this is merely a narrative we're weaving for ourselves? Let us begin with the material sciences. One of the most essential flaws within the organic portal gnosis lies in its complete inability to be tested. In the language of science, if something cannot be measured, examined, or disproven, then it transcends scientific inquiry and dwells purely in the realm of faith. The teaching that certain beings lack the divine spark cannot be witnessed through instruments or verified through behavioral analysis. If someone appears withdrawn, emotionally distant, or lacking curiosity, does this prove they're soulless or merely introverted, carrying wounds, or shaped by social conditioning? No objective measurement exists here, only subjective interpretation. Even the simulation hypothesis that supports much of this mystery remains deeply disputed. While visionaries like Nick Bostrom and Elon Musk have awakened many to the possibility of existing within a simulated realm, numerous scientists declare that such theories are not merely untestable, but ultimately without meaning. The physicist George Ellis has proclaimed that simulation arguments cannot be falsified and thus transcend science. They belong to metaphysical speculation, seductive ideas lacking experimental foundation. And if the very foundation beneath the organic portal teaching rests on speculation, how much more uncertain are its revelations? But let us journey deeper. Beyond material objections lies a psychological shadow, a human peril. The danger transcends merely believing the unprovable. The true threat is what this belief manifests within the believer. When you begin perceiving others as hollow, soulless, or merely programmed, you unconsciously crown yourself among the awakened elite. You begin severing yourself from the collective. A chasm opens between your soul and existence, and spiritual pride takes root. This mirrors the birth of history's most destructive doctrines. not through immediate violence, but by drawing mystical boundaries. We possess essence, and they do not. This is how the stripping of humanity begins, not with rage, but with certainty, with the conviction that they are cosmically different, fundamentally lesser. When you perceive another as incapable of consciousness, you cease treating them as a soul who might awaken. You stop witnessing their divine potential. You stop feeling compassion, and ultimately, you stop seeing. The belief transforms into a veil. It filters what you perceive and what remains hidden, and gradually it transmutes you into the very emptiness you sought to transcend, a reactive, heartless, programmed echo of yourself. Next, we encounter the shadow of projection, a concept Carl Jung illuminated with profound clarity. He taught that what we deny within ourselves, we inevitably project onto others. When you look at someone and perceive unconsciousness, ask yourself honestly, is this truly their essence, or my own unacknowledged shadow? We all go through periods of mechanical existence, moments when we disconnect from source, feel scattered and emotionally empty. If someone observed us during such times, they might label you as a portal, yet they would be wrong. Perhaps this same truth applies to those we dismiss as empty. Let's also respect people's emotional pain. Many signs attributed to soullessness, absence of empathy, surface dialogue, rigid patterns, emotional numbness, are actually manifestations of unhealed trauma, soul fragmentation, depression, dissociative disorders, and PTSD. People who have endured profound pain often construct protective shells that appear as emptiness, but truly guard something infinitely tender. To label such a soul an organic portal isn't merely inaccurate, it's an act of cruelty. Yet we cannot dismiss the resonance this concept carries. It speaks to something we intuitively sense. Not all beings operate from equal depths, awareness, or inner worlds. How do we embrace this paradox? How do we recognize the spectrum of consciousness without creating a spiritual hierarchy? The path perhaps lies in transforming judgment into sacred discernment. Discernment is the sacred art of perceiving truth, not through ego, but through crystalline clarity. It means witnessing when a being moves unconsciously without imprisoning them in that moment. It means knowing that all souls can sleepwalk, but also can awaken. It means remaining receptive, observing, holding space, and offering light without forcing illumination. Most crucially, it means staying anchored in your own divine humanity while questioning the essence of others. Because here lies the uncomfortable revelation. Your perception may be illusion. The being you perceive as hollow may simply be silent, inward-focused, or navigating their own tempest. They may be healing from wounds you cannot see, and if you abandon them too swiftly, you may miss the sacred moment of their awakening. And far worse, you may shatter it. So the opposing wisdom transcends mere intellect. It's a matter of sacred ethics, of spiritual law. It whispers, embrace the possibility of organic portals if it illuminates the matrix for you, but never allow that knowing to block your compassion. Never let it forge your prison. Because the instant you cease seeing others as capable of transformation, you've begun your fall into the matrix's ultimate snare, cold detachment masquerading as awakening. The system doesn't merely spawn organic portals, it desires you to believe in them, so you abandon your mission to reach others, so you surrender, so you retreat into isolation, so you sever yourself from the unified soul. Here lies the supreme paradox. The moment you brand others as soulless without divine certainty, you begin severing the golden thread to your own eternal essence. In the final revelation, we'll weave together all threads, the signs, the shadows, the simulations, and we'll pose the only inquiry that holds true weight. What is your next step? Because whether or not organic portals exist in truth, the choices you forge within this matrix are undeniably real. You've now journeyed through one of the most perilous and captivating mysteries, dwelling at the threshold of spiritual and philosophical awakening. The gnosis that not all beings carry souls, that some are organic portals, empty vessels, reactive programs, woven into the fabric of reality to maintain others within the matrix's grasp. You've seen its roots in occult channelings, its viral resurgence in memes, and its undeniable resonance with how many now interpret the behaviors of society. And now the question must be asked, where does this leave you? If you've followed this journey with curiosity, it's because somewhere deep within you, there is already a suspicion that something is off in this world, that some people are asleep. But not the kind of sleep that dreams, the kind of sleep that mimics life without ever living. But the ultimate truth dwells not in verifying or dismissing this mystery. It lives in how you embody your existence. Because first, comprehend this. The gnosis of organic portals speaks not of superiority, it speaks of sacred duty. If you know yourself as an awakened soul within a realm of synthetic patterns and echoing programs, then you bear a holy burden. You are the glitch, the catalyst, the point of resistance within a matrix that devours unconscious repetition. This means your presence must not manifest as another form of condemnation. It must become a beacon of awakening. It begins with witnessing your own patterns, your own programming. Because the matrix doesn't merely implant its code in others, it downloads into your being. Every social spell you follow without questioning, every moment you scroll away from your shadow, every belief you inherit without testing it against your soul's truth, every script you perform to maintain acceptance. These are the signatures of unconscious architecture. And before you name others as portals, you must gaze into the sacred mirror and inquire, how many of these thoughts truly originate from my essence? The matrix doesn't tremble before emotion. It doesn't fear belief. What terrifies it is awakened consciousness, because awareness births liberation. A soul who knows itself cannot be controlled. A soul who sees clearly cannot be turned into its own enemy. A soul who remains awake, even standing in solitude, wields more power than legions of unconscious minds. So the system deploys every weapon to drag you back into slumber, endless distractions, manufactured divisions, cacophony, emotional overwhelm, pleasure traps, predictive spells. Your mission extends beyond recognizing these snares in the outer world. You must exorcise them from your own vessel. This is what the mystery schools knew. This is what the ancient initiates embodied. They didn't waste existence cataloging who possessed souls and who didn't. They devoted their lives to purifying their own consciousness until they could navigate illusion unscathed, until they achieved immunity from the dream's hypnotic spell. They named it through many tongues: gnosis, satori, illumination, moksha. But the eternal principle remained unchanged. Awaken yourself and kindle, awakening in others. If you sense the organic portal, gnosis holds truth, then question deeply. What sacred obligation does this place upon you? Does it call you to retreat and dim your flame? Or does it demand you blaze even more brilliantly? Does it mean you flee from empty vessels? Or does it mean you become a mirror so luminous that even the shallowest waters can reflect the cosmos? Because even if half of existence lacks the divine spark, and let us embrace that possibility, then your light becomes twice as precious and twice as necessary. It also reveals You were never designed to dissolve into conformity. You were never meant to be understood by the programmed masses. You were never destined to blend with crowds reciting borrowed mantras. You were designed as a disruption. You were seeded here to create sacred glitches within the simulation's core. But heed this warning. The Matrix has mastered the art of false light. Not all who preach awareness have awakened. Not all who broadcast spirituality have broken free. One of the system's most cunning strategies is hijacking truth. Authentic gnosis will always disturb your comfort. It will first shatter your illusions of certainty. It will demand ego death before offering rebirth. And it will constantly remind you that liberation carries a sacred price. So what happens now? You stand at the crossroads. You determine how to wield this knowledge. You decide whether this revelation becomes your prison or your liberation. You can grasp the organic portal mystery and forge it into a blade. Cast judgment upon all. Retreat into isolation. Cultivate bitterness and spiritual arrogance. That's the Matrix's desire. It craves your solitude, your disconnection, your floating prison of superiority, while it continues harvesting the sleeping masses. Or you can embrace this gnosis as a sacred lens, not to divide souls, but to cultivate discernment, not to calcify your heart, but to crystallize your perception, not to seal pathways, but to know when to offer light and when to honor another's journey. Perhaps these beings aren't portals at all. Perhaps they're simply wounded. Perhaps their divine spark lies buried beneath lifetimes of control, trauma, and conditioning. And perhaps your refusal to abandon them becomes the golden thread that guides them back to their own sacred essence. Or perhaps not. Perhaps some truly are vacant, mere scripts, hollow echoes. But the truth isn't about their nature. It's about who you choose to become in their presence. Because ultimately, only two paths exist. Those who merge with the program and those who shatter it. So shatter it. Become the glitch that forces others to pause. Become the depth that disrupts surface chatter. Become the silence that makes empty noise unbearable. Become the awakened soul that reminds others of their own eternal flame. And know this sacred truth: if the organic portal mystery holds reality, it means this realm is not the solid truth it pretends to be, and that reveals you are not enslaved by its laws. Your awareness becomes your sword. Your life force becomes your sacred currency. Your soul becomes your divine protection. Guard it, refine it, wield it with precision. Because in a realm saturated with artificial identities, your authentic essence becomes the ultimate revolution. And if you've journeyed this far, if these transmissions stirred something within you, if you felt a recognition beyond words, then it confirms you're not among the empty, you're among the awakened. Now demonstrate it, not through debates, not through doctrines, but through how you navigate this existence. Conscious, centered, immovable, authentic. If this ignites the flame within you, don't allow it to extinguish. Follow this path for deeper revelations by subscribing. Share your witness below and reveal. Have you ever gazed into another's eyes and found only the void? And remember, within a matrix woven from deception, truth becomes the only uprising that etches itself into eternity. Until our paths cross again, remain awakened, remain sovereign.